I don't know if this is the right thread to post this, but I need help. My best friend and I have been inseparable since we were 5. We went to school together, did most of life's major milestones together, and I consider him my brother in all but blood. When his grandmother passed while we were in high school, she even had me in her will, leaving me a small trust to use for college. For as long as I can remember, his family has been mine and vice versa. We both got married in 2017. Our wives are very close and have been since we were dating. While I'm not as close with her as my wife, I see his wife like my sister and I care about her the same way. 3 days ago I was riding in my best friend's car when he asked me to put on some music. I picked up his phone and put in his code. We've both known each other's passcodes for years, and while I was navigating Spotify, a text came through from a pizza place that said, "Coming over tonight?" I sat there stunned for a few seconds before turning and asking him who the fuck pizza place was. He immediately started yelling at me for going through his messages before I told him what happened. He pulled over into a parking lot and spent a few minutes yelling at each other until he finally came clean. He's been hooking up with a coworker for about a month. He says that he still loves his wife and has no intentions of leaving her. He begged me not to tell his wife, and that he's going to find a way to break it off with this other woman, but says he's in too deep to just ghost her and doesn't know how to cut it off yet. He swears it will never happen again and that his mistake doesn't warrant ruin his and his wife's marriage. After some back and forth I reluctantly agreed to stay quiet. But later that day I remembered something that might change my mind. He and his wife started the process of IVF a few months ago. I haven't pressed for details, but she has used my wife as support through the process, and I know it has been very taxing on her. Ultimately my dilemma is this: is it right for me to keep this a secret, knowing that they are trying to bring a child into the world, and knowing that child could be born into a broken home if his wife finds out after she gets pregnant? I'm torn between the friend that I love like my brother, and what I feel would be the right thing to do. I know I'm not the one who was wronged here, but I feel so betrayed and angry. I feel like he's done something that's going to tear apart the small family the 4 of us have built together, and the bigger one we planned on having one day. I know he's not a bad person, and up to this point I'm pretty sure he's been a model husband. I'm so unsure what to do and I need help. 2 days later. I'd also like to quickly address those of you who suggested burying it because I have no ties to this woman, or he's your friend not her, or brothers before hoes. This isn't some random girl he just started hanging out with. They've been married for 7 years and were dating for 2 before that. She's been a big part of our lives for nearly a decade and is my friend in her own right, even if she doesn't share the same history me and her husband do. So the idea that I have no ties to her or owe her nothing is just wrong. The evening after posting this I told my wife. You all were right that I shouldn't have kept it from her in the first place. She listened to what happened and then sat silent for a minute. I was afraid she was going to be mad at me for not telling her like a lot of you said, but no. She said that a part of her was relieved because she could tell that something had been severely bothering me these past couple of days, but aside from offering the occasional, "Are you okay?" she decided that I would tell her when I was ready to share. Though, when I told her about the thread, she was slightly annoyed and thought it was silly for me to have brought my problem to a bunch of strangers on the internet before I brought it to her. I apologized for not telling her sooner and for waiting to act despite knowing in my heart what I needed to do. My wonderful, amazing, and astoundingly understanding wife responded with, "Even when we're sure what is right, it's only human to hesitate when we know it's going to cost us dearly." That said, she and I are all good. After our discussion, I showed her the thread. She read comments for nearly an hour before we started talking again. Ultimately we decided that we had to tell my friend's wife, who I will from here on refer to as sister so I don't keep having to say friend's wife. The reason we did this instead of an ultimatum is my wife was concerned he would use the time to cover his tracks or orchestrate her opinion against us. Neither of us really felt that would be in character for him, but we wouldn't have thought it in character for him to cheat either. My wife texted sister and asked if she could come over after work the next day. Sister works mostly evenings so she usually gets off around 11. My wife had told her it was a serious conversation so sister was pretty tense when she arrived at our house. We sat her down and we told her everything. After hearing it, she took a long breath and said, "I've known for a couple of weeks. Apparently, she had asked her boss if she could go home early one night a few weeks ago because she wasn't feeling well, and found he wasn't home. She texted him asking what he was up to, and he said he was at home watching TV. She tried to look up his location on their tracking app, but it was turned off. She left home and waited until when her shift would normally end to return. He was home when she got there, and when she asked how his evening was or if he did anything interesting, he told her he'd been home all evening watching TV and playing video games. She checked the app again, and sure enough, his location was turned back on. Sister said that, until we told her, she didn't have any proof but felt she knew what must have been happening. We asked her what she was planning to do now that she knew. Here's the part one didn't see coming: she plans to move forward with IVF. According to her, it's always been her lifelong dream to be a mother, and without IVF it will never happen. IVF is expensive. She won't be able to afford it on her own, and she's afraid that if she leaves her husband she'll never get another chance. Her current plan is to follow through with implantation and decide what will happen to her marriage afterward. She says they have a healthy embryo and she wants to give her child a chance, even if it means she could end up raising the child on her own. When I asked if there was any way she could see them reconciling when this is all over, she said it depended on him. In the end, she asked us to please keep it quiet and not tell him that she knows. We agreed and assured her we'd be there for her if she needed anything. I called my friend the next day and told him that, while I still love him, I need space after learning what he did and that we wouldn't be seeing each other for a while. I still feel a lot of things: relief from not bearing the secret, sorrow for sister and what I fear she's going to have to go through, anger at my friend for destroying our family as it has been, if not destroying it entirely, and grief from what feels like the loss of the person who has been with me my whole life. I hope for all three of their sakes they can work it out, but I know those chances are slim. This whole thing has been exhausting, and, while I'm not sure exactly how to move on from it, now I can at least try. Thank you all again for your help. I doubt I'll have any more updates.